whatever the setup was made for initially and the purpose it was serving, now it's kind of come to become a little redundant, or it needs like a lot of rethinking.
I like this observation in the US in political circles that if you're young and if you're not a liberal, then you don't have a heart. If you're older and if you're not conservative, you don't have a head. Good luck predicting the ways in which the human heart works. You fall for someone, you fall for someone.
That is so
The challenge though is you're not sure how the other person's heart may react. So there are a lot of these cross signals and there's a lot of pain and suffering out there. It's a jungle out there, modern dating jungle. But this is true that yes, there is this paradox of choice, which is not good. Having a loving, caring family in another city about one's own parents. And imagine how in-laws are not quite the same. You can take liberties with your parents that you can't with the parents.
Hey there, welcome to MVP. I'm Vanshika Chanderia, your host, and today's conversation is going to be one of the nicest conversations that you hear regarding love, marriage, and what it needs, what it takes for you to make your marriage work. It is one of the trendiest, buzzing things, and not even trendy, you know what? It is one of the most evergreen topics that are going to always affect humans, relationships, and people. And that is why we chose to talk about it. We have talked about one aspect of it. There's just so much more that can be talked about, but you're in for a very delightful conversation. So let's get started. Hello, Anil. How are you? And we are so happy to have you for this podcast today.
Hi, Vanshika. Thank you for having me. And I can say, since you're from out of town, welcome to Chennai.
Thanks a lot.
Here we say Vanakkam.
Vanakkam. This is our first one in Chennai, hoping to do many more actually.
My wish for you too.
Thank you so much. So, before obviously we get into our topic of today, I would love for everyone to understand more about you, your journey, and how did you actually decide on starting Jodi365, which is a matrimony platform, and what was that like?
Yeah, sure. It's been a long journey. I say that I'm doing something that I didn't imagine doing. 35 years ago, when I was finishing school, my ambition was to get into IIT.
Wow, okay.
I'm 53. And I'm fortunate that that dream came true. And when I was going through my program, my focus was on making some impact, doing well enough that I could be in a position to make some lasting contributions. This early ideal of legacy and immortality, have your work live on. There were classmates who would take the GATE for entrance into master's programs in engineering, to write the CAT to get into the IIMs, or even the GMAT to head straight to the US for an MBA right out of undergrad. I saw that as fluff, easy stuff. What motivated me was to do something intellectually challenging. And I thought, what more challenging than getting into research and making some contributions to humanity, to knowledge. And that meant going through a PhD path. So I applied and got into grad programs in the US, got a Master of Science in mechanical engineering, and then a PhD, while specializing in broadly fluid mechanics, computational hydrodynamics, in much the same way that you have automobiles. Think of F1 cars that get even more sleek, even more aerodynamic every year. You even have stealth aircraft. In much the same way, you have these computational models that simulate the flow around ships so that you can make ships more fuel efficient and even reduce their wake signatures so that they're not captured on spy satellites. So a lot of the funding comes from the military, the Navy. And as I got done with that, I wanted to broaden my footprint. I went into consulting, marine consulting, went about my life and career in the US, putting my roots down there, built a fine home for myself in Seattle. This was my late 20s, early 30s. And I had some causes that were dear to me, and I had a lot more time than during 6 years of grad school, which meant that I could give up my time volunteering and even taking on a leadership role at an NGO. Went on to serve on its international board also. But I had this itch to do more. And I thought, what better way than by starting a business, building an organization, leaving a legacy behind. But I had the restrictions of being on a work visa in the US at the time. We're talking nearly 2 decades ago. And since I was thinking of professional growth, and I thought also about how it had been several years since my PhD, when you have drive, you think of ways to fulfill your potential. I thought that my career wasn't as illustrious as I would have liked it to be. So I thought, why not, while biding time for the career mobility that would come through with a green card, let me head back to school for a part-time MBA. And I was really excited when I learned of this weekend MBA program offered by the University of Chicago.
Wow.
Even while living and working in Seattle, I thought that there were others who would do it, fly from the West Coast to Chicago, the equivalent of Chennai to Dubai, 4-hour flight. So I would work full week and rush to the airport from my downtown office and get into Chicago, check into my hotel late Friday night, attend classes all day Saturday, and rush back into Seattle to sleep in my bed. Quite a madness. And I was so, it leads into why I chose to do what I do. As you can tell, you're cut from the same cloth, type A, driven, ambitious, wanting to do something of one's life. And as I was signing up for this program, I was single at the time, 33. I knew that I would be putting my personal life, I would have to put my personal life on hold. Because imagine working a 40-hour week, 45 hours, typical work week, travel 4 hours flight,
Right.
7 hours door to door, round trip back within 2 days, 14 hours in a week on travel. And come back, and on Sundays, I would have to rest and recover a little bit, do the dishes, do the laundry, get ready for the work week, keep up with reading and assignments for the next weekend of classes. And I thought, where is there going to be time to get to know somebody, let alone find someone? So I thought, all right, this is really important for me that I would give this my all. In hindsight, I have a different view. And it's a kind of gyan that I give to today's 20-somethings and 30-somethings. But there I was going about benefiting a lot from this education that I was getting. And at the time, I saw a future path through entrepreneurship. I wasn't quite sure of what I would do, with whom, when, where. But one of the highlights of my MBA program was getting to apprentice with what is now one of the largest angel investment networks in the US, in the Midwest, Hyde Park Angels. It was supported by the program, founded by alumni, seasoned entrepreneurs, corporate executives, investors. I got to be their first lead associate. It was a startup too at the time.
Wow.
Very enriching, very fulfilling. And I got to see how things worked on the other side of the table from a startup, because it was part of my responsibility to screen dozens of startups and to shortlist promising ones to put them before an investment committee and to coach the entrepreneurs on their pitch deck, and then to work as part of a deal team, making an investment and even supporting a portfolio company following the investment. Very enriching. And I earned a lot of goodwill, taking to it with a lot of heart. And I had doors very graciously being opened into a career in venture capital, which is hard to crack.
Very nice.
But I had this itch to do something of my own, build my own thing. And I knew then that I felt then that I wouldn't respect the VC that I would have become straight out of B school, even though I was a mature, quote unquote, mature MBA candidate in my mid-30s, already had done a couple of different things by then. Besides, there's enough time to get more seasoned if I had to do VC down the road. And when I thought of what to pursue, there were several ideas that I explored in the second year of my program. By the way, midway into my program, I got my green card, which meant that I could decide whether to do what I was doing.
Yeah.
I chose to quit my job, switch the lights off at home, and I packed ultimately what were 13 suitcases. And from a 14-hour, 7-hour commute, I got to within 2 blocks of campus and made the most of it. Because as many people who've done an MBA know, it's an immersive program. It's not just about what you learn in the curriculum. It's also about the relationship that you build. It's also the experiential learning opportunities. Very fulfilling time then. And I came to be humbled. I came to take a different view of an MBA program. In a lot of places it can be fluff, but I loved that Chicago's program has been famously rigorous. Very flexible, and at the same time, very rigorous. So there I was thinking about, no, I want to do something entrepreneurial. And interestingly, while reviewing a deal as part of a potential investment, I had the opportunity to look into social networks, the business model behind social networks. I got to think, okay, you can have an ad-supported model, you can have a subscription-supported model. And there was a dating site out of Canada at the time that had gained some notoriety for being phenomenally efficient from an ROI standpoint or in terms of revenues per employee. It had me thinking that, okay, there is still this unsolved problem that I was familiar with. That was the opportunity that most excited me because for the previous decade, I was 36 at the time. We're talking almost 17 years ago. No, precisely January of 2009, 17 years ago, may have been around this time that I remember having a conversation with a mentor and revered professor at Booth at his office. So he said, oh, this is what you want to do. And he challenged me. So what about this? What about that? Oh, the gyan that some people have to share. It inspires you. It motivates you to give back in similar ways. Yeah. So I recall those conversations. So being 36 at the time, I was not only familiar with the problem, and people ask, why do you choose to take on this problem as an entrepreneur? Have you studied customer pain? I would say, heck, I have lived customer pain for the previous decade. From my mid-20s on.
You've solved a problem that you've experienced like literally firsthand.
Solving. And I was intimately familiar with it because I was not only single and open to the idea, but quite proactive about looking for a partner for myself.
Very
a year
interesting.
With my PhD left, I thought, okay, I'm getting sort of settled. Would be good to have a partner too. One good thing about the matchmaking business, it's for good reason that people say it's an evergreen business. Even if people are going through a recession, they're not going to put Bitya's wedding off for who knows how many years.
Agreed.
Or, oh, son is doing well professionally, let him get the responsibility and go into Grihastha. As against, oh, you can study online, you can do who knows what else online, electronic medical records online. People may have all kinds of concerns. And there are enough challenges with this industry, the way it has been operated, which I was also familiar with because I had to deal with those grievances.
As well, makes sense.
The kind of preferences I had was such that I wouldn't be able to come across a kind of person in the course of everyday life. And I was also particular about having some ambivalence about workplace romances. Surprising because my parents come from different cultures within India. My father, a Tamilian from Kerala, South Indian Brahmin. My mother, a Sindhi from pre-partition Karachi. They came over from safely.
Such a unique mix that would be.
Yeah, and especially think about this in the Calcutta of the 1960s. When they were courting, Kismet, love happens wherever it happens. In their friend circle, they would say, oh, here come night and day. My father, a dark Tamilian. My mom as light complexion with light hair too. Magic happens. And knowing that, my two brothers and I, knowing that our parents chose each other for themselves, we always had the sense of agency. Yeah, we'll find somebody for ourselves. I can remember being 18 on campus at IIT Madras, and there would be this ritual, especially on weekends when there'd be breathing room. People would just congregate at the center of a wing and have the newspapers, Sunday papers, few copies laid out. People would share different sections. And it would be comic relief to scroll through the matrimonial classified section and see the stereotypical cliched terms.
Yeah.
Slim, fair, beautiful, homely, well settled.
Today, if someone would write that, I don't know. I think what I've come to understand is that now these terms have become a little provocative in a way that, you cannot like outright say fat or slim. It may be like, have to like put it more subtly, which is fine. I think we've come to, understanding that as a society.
Yeah.
But all these terms would be very like, objectifying a person in a way, right?
Yeah. And I'll come to that. My take on that is it's better that you know who somebody is and what they're looking for, especially in something as critical as this. When you're hiring somebody, you would do diligence on a candidate.
Right.
This calls for an even greater level of diligence. You can fire somebody with controllable pain.
Yeah.
Imagine having to fire a spouse, right? That's going through a difficult divorce process, and you have a
Yes.
lot more stakeholders.
Yes.
But so there was a time when one of the leading matrimonial sites took some flack in the media because in one of the profiles, people write about themselves. They write what they're looking for.
Yeah.
There was a standard term, SC/ST, please excuse. You see that in real estate classifieds also, brokers, please excuse, right? Homeowners may not want to deal with brokers. So here was somebody who was stating their offensive preference in a way that was insulting, as in, hey, similar to how it used to be in British India pre-independence, there would be these fancy country clubs and there'd be the sign that has been highlighted in some Amitabh Bachchan movies, dogs and Indians not allowed.
Yeah.
Right? So you cannot treat somebody as second-class citizens.
Yeah.
And the company was made to grovel. Jodi365 was already around. This may be about a decade ago. And internally, we took in the news, and I said that I would have let it remain. They had to show that they were doing the right things. Oh, no, we will filter these profiles and not allow such offensive terms. My view on that is, it comes from life experience. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. So I would rather somebody shows themselves to be a bigot, shows themselves to be narrow-minded, or in any case, look, in a way they may say that this is my preference. I may not like it,
Yeah.
but I would rather be informed than not be informed.
Yeah.
So we said that if somebody were to write something like that, I'd say, sure, there is a line that needs to be drawn somewhere. But I told you that I talk a lot. I haven't forgotten what you asked about, so let me bring it back to that. Against this backdrop, having the sense of agency, that yes, I would find somebody, reading those matrimonial classifieds in college at the age of 18 and thinking that, wow, this is comical, huh? So cliched, these kind of preferences. It's almost transactional. It's like, are you looking for a match or are you looking for a business transaction?
Yes.
This is what I have to offer.
Yes.
I want to trade my wealth for your looks. And I thought that maybe by the time I'm 28, I would get married. I didn't think that it would be another 2 decades before I would be married. I was married when I was technically 38, a few days shy of my 39th birthday, a few years into building Jodi365. But coming back to this, given my discerning preferences, given my concerns that, hey, even if there was somebody to be interesting, I would be wary of workplace romances because by then I had already known a couple of heartbreaks. There was a crush from school, college days that didn't go anywhere. And for the better, there's so much growing that one has to do about learning of oneself. If you don't know yourself first,
100%.
how would you even know who is right for you? And I would bring this back. I'd caution folks, there are still in many cultures, hey, I may say, having had a couple of good conversations that we've had, in your culture, even men are married young. If they're not married by the time that they're in their mid-20s, it's, wow, what's going on? Right?
That is
Families to
very
this
true.
day. And I take the view that it is understood today that the prefrontal cortex of our brains is still growing until the age of 25.
That is true.
And that's so important for judgment and decision making. What decision is more important than whom you choose to marry? The most in life.
So there is a very funny thing that goes about in the online media right now. I think we're going to talk about marriage and all a lot in detail, but the funny thing is that nowadays a lot of women, they don't want to marry and whatnot, right? So again, the joke goes by saying that because nowadays women marry later, right, after 25 and all, so they have their prefrontal cortex fully developed, and they know better that having like a single life would be much better for themselves rather than kind of getting married and whatnot. And that's, I think, again, I don't think it's wrong and false. It's very true in the way that you just know too much to be wanting to put yourself through something that may not align with you after a point.
Here's the perspective that gray hair has brought. While I say that it's cute, clever, I have come to appreciate this famous line from a talk show segment in the US from maybe 3 decades ago. Don't fixate on what a woman says she wants. Focus on what she responds to. It may be
Wow.
fashionable. I can take credit for that insight. But this is how, as they say, a mind once stretched does not return to its original dimensions.
Yeah.
So if a woman were to say that to me, I wouldn't buy it. First of all, knowing that I'm a professional matchmaker today, and people say the kindest things, so thoughtful, and very polished and discreet, elite matchmaker. I'm an accidental matchmaker. If somebody were to take the time to get in a conversation with me, I'm not buying that, who needs a man?
Right.
I'm not buying that. Because, again, when I talked about how this is an evergreen business, there are still problems that are not sufficiently solved, which is why there's an opportunity for entrepreneurs like me. I have not had to make the case for, it's good to find a partner, because we are wired for companionship. We are wired to procreate and further our genes.
When we talk about that, right? When you say wired for that, right? So the entire setup of marriage, whenever it came into being, right, very early on, was, from my understanding and from a little that I've come to understand, is that there were roles which were defined for men and women in society, and we're talking about probably like 100 years ago, for example, right? So generally it would be like, men are there to protect and provide, and women would kind of take the generations
Sure.
and whatnot, right?
Traditional gender roles.
Exactly. So the idea was that the roles were so well defined and it would balance. Like you are bringing X and Y to the table, and hence they are bringing whatever they are bringing to the table. Now, with times, we've progressed, become, as a society, now everyone is kind of trying to be very equal in everything. And I do think that people now don't appreciate being confined and known for the traditional roles that they are for, both men and women, not only women in the way that they want to be working and whatnot and not be like a homemaker, but also men. I think they're more open to also being home husbands, like house husbands or whatever. So
Really? Okay.
I just feel like, do you think whatever the setup was made for initially and the purpose it was serving, now it's kind of come to become a little redundant, or it needs like a lot of rethinking?
I'm
was the
loving
setup?
this. How much time do we have? We could
We
talk
have a lot
an
of
hour
time.
on just this. So much to unwrap over there. I can relate to a lot of what you verbalized. I was a young, earnest kid who was conditioned to do the right thing. Family values,
Yeah.
examples. And I'll even say that I've done a 180 on this compared to my youth. In some ways, it's stereotypical. I've liked this observation in the US in political circles that if you're young and if you're not a liberal, then you don't have a heart. If you're older and if you're not conservative, you don't have a head. The older I've gotten, the more conservative I've gotten. Now, again, I'm taking some US examples because I went about my life and career over there. I became a naturalized US citizen. I straddled two societies. I like to keep in touch with what's going on.
Right.
And I think I'll curse, I think it's a shit show in the US right now. And yet, so the case is made there that the left has gone way to the left, and people who were previously, you can take my example, who were leaning to the left of center, now find themselves on the other side of the center, to the right of, mildly to the right of center.
Right.
Without digressing, I may find the current president a despicable human being, but and I also pay attention to how much more polarized it is in the US. Young women are a lot more liberal, whereas the young men in the US are a lot more conservative. You talk about, women are choosing not to get married. That's more of concern, I think, in the US. And men also just checking out of the dating environment over there. I don't worry about India. I think the US has a lot to worry about in that front. I don't
Do
worry
you
about.
think whatever happens in the US eventually follows not only just startups and businesses, but I do think that there is a lot of influence of Western, even marriage culture and how they are dating and what they are doing rather there in India also.
I have resisted the temptation to start nodding as soon as you began saying that. Yes, in a way, that was the insight that I had.
Yeah.
The foundational insight behind Jodi365.
Right.
I'm surprised that I'm able to hold my thoughts together despite the little sleep. despite the self goal, because as I said, there's a lot to unwrap. I will come to that. But I agree, and I'm concerned about that. But I worry less for India. I saw the winds of change having blown in the US for the previous couple of generations from the 60s, and you had the emergence of the birth control pill, and
Yeah.
women felt that, yes, they could burn the bra and be like a man.
Yeah.
It was liberating for them, and they thought they could sleep around as well. And whereas in the US, around the time of the early 50s, I've had somebody who was my company president at the consulting firm. It used to be the norm to marry your high school or college sweethearts, because it was also a conservative society. People think of the US as a decadent society.
Yeah.
If half the country has been voting for a despicable human being because they see him as holding on and preserving their values on the right, despite all his personal flaws. We're all flawed, but despite his incredible flaws, half the country is still conservative. Some would argue that they are outright racist. Against that background, I thought that, wow, so here you have in the US, I was this NRI sitting in the US for the previous 15 years from my early 20s. And I thought that here in India, you have a lot more youngsters who are getting their college degrees. Like you went to Kota, you went to Manipal,
Yeah.
away from home, away from MP. And with this economic independence and then choosing to work wherever they chose to work, there's nobody setting curfew at home. Hey, it's past 10 p.m. Who are you out with?
100%, yeah.
For men and young women. And with that economic independence comes this kind of social independence, whom you hang out with, whom you choose to get to know romantically, whom you choose to marry, and what time frames. Whereas what was prevalent were these typical traditional matrimonial sites, where half the profiles would be created by a parent or guardian, because in our culture, that's still seen as a responsibility
Yeah.
to help find a suitable bride or groom for son or daughter, for nephew, niece. And I've recognized, because I was that kind of person in my own 30s, the matrimonial sites didn't appeal to me. I can tell you, I felt like puking when I came to one typical matrimonial site. Very sanskari, and I'd say it's like the Aloknath of matrimonial sites. And if he got caught up around the Me Too time, similarly, I thought that I found this business to be very hypocritical. Because they saw the winds of change blowing, they went and bought out a dating app out of Bangalore and put it in as part of the umbrella before they shuttered it, knowing that, okay, it may be cannibalizing their brand. And then you had these emerging dating sites, because the leading players also recognized that they might get disrupted. And they thought that, okay, dating is the way to go. And I saw enough problems with the US-style dating sites also. What made sense to me, because this is still a society in which, less these days, but if you look back even a decade or a decade and a half ago may seem like an earlier generation.
Yeah.
You still have the occasional reports of couples being harassed on Valentine's Day, couples being chased out of coffee shops in Kochi, women being chased out of pubs in Mangalore, because it's politicized. You have the right-wing zealots who think that this is a corruption of Indian culture. So I thought that while there may be pockets in India that are, I won't say progressive, because I'm not going to condone the thing that happens in parties these days, in the rave circuit, I don't condone them. So I won't say that they are more progressive, or that they are more liberalized, they can out-Western Beverly Hills. And against this climate, I'm not going to introduce a dating alternative that would be more appealing to the youngsters. So the vision, one of the early foundational theses again for Jodi365 was a sensible hybrid between the prevailing matrimonial sites and the emerging dating platforms in a way that appealed to the young generation more than the Chat Mangni Patbya, instant engagement, instant wedding kind of matrimonial sites did, without antagonizing the parental generation, the heavily invested, loving, caring parental generation, as these dating apps would.
But have
So
you
hybrid.
also seen this? So, I think this I have seen, in whatever little years I've lived so far, that earlier there would be this setup that we spoke about, like Chatmangni Patbya, parents would take the responsibility of finding the right partner for you and get you married. Then everyone became like, a lot of love marriages happened, a lot of, like Bhag ke Shadi wala concepts happened,
Sure.
whatnot.
Sure.
And I think from there, the generation next understood and realized that, we cannot actually control this a lot now. And people are choosing their partners.
Yeah.
And so now we've come to a time wherein I now see parents being like, "Toon lo.
Yeah.
Find your partner, let us
Yeah.
know you want to marry. If it
Yeah.
is right, these are our parameters.
Yeah.
This is non-compromisable.
Yeah.
If within those you're able to find, fine, we'll marry you."
Yeah. Yeah.
But also now, in now my friend circle, I've seen everyone being like, Meri wali to mummy hi lai is the going on narrative. I'm not even kidding. So what this means is that people have now lost trust
Yeah.
also on the fact that, they will be able to find the right one, because one, they've gone through multiple cycles of seeing a lot of partners, and after a point they don't trust themselves as to, we don't think we'll be able to find the right one, let
Yeah.
them find, because they
Yeah.
not trust
Yeah.
the earlier system again. So I've seen this cycle myself.
Yeah.
What is your insight on, like, why is this coming back, if it is
Yeah.
coming back?
Yeah. Wow. I'm impressed. Can I bring you on board my team? Right? Because these are very thoughtful perspectives. And I'll make sure that I don't miss some of the other thoughts
Earlier,
that
yes.
you
I think
asked
we have
about.
a lot of points piled up now, yes.
Yeah. And hey, it's your show. Feel free to course correct or bring it back.
Yes, sure.
I like how we're able to be conversational about this. So, about what you just brought up, it's confusing for a lot of people, understandably. There's a lot of flux. I reflect from time to time about how it's easy to say that there are two Indias, an India of the haves and the India of the have-nots.
Wow.
But from a cultural standpoint, you have not just dozens, not just hundreds, but you have thousands of Indias. And you have change that's happening. Change happening at different time scales. And you have these pendulum swings happening that earlier it used to be people settling into these traditional gender roles.
Right.
And if you go to the other extreme, and I have been somebody, and I say this, and I said, when I'll go back to one thought, I say that I have done a 180 on this. I was that earnest kid who drank the feminist Kool-Aid. Equality. I would advise somebody, don't go in with notions of equality. Men and women are different. You cannot go into a relationship, go into a marriage with a weighing scale, expecting 50-50. It will not be
Never
50-50.
happen.
Never happen. So just as maybe even a broken clock will be right twice a day, an equilibrium might reach 50-50 while it's oscillating between right and right.
Yes.
There'll be enough stretches when you'll be putting in 60 and the other person may have settled it at 40.
Yeah.
And you both may be okay with it because the 40 may be things that you cannot do, or it may be a 70-30, and there'll be stretches when it'll be a 20-80, a 10-90. It might get into danger zone.
Yeah.
And couples need to keep recalibrating. Please, one of the things that I take seriously as my responsibility is to disabuse the younger generation of this notion of 50-50. And I'm not ashamed to say that one of the things that I've done is to do a rethink. I take a kind of view. I've come to appreciate the wisdom behind traditional gender roles. And it doesn't mean that it has to be set in the gender roles of the past, because times also change. Why? Look at how much the space has evolved over the last 15 years since I began this. After I chose to introduce a smart, sensible hybrid between the traditional and the modern to help reassure the 20-something, the 30-something that this is not a matrimonial 365, this is not a dating 365, this is a Jodi 365. What is Jodi? Match, pair, couple. Find your own match, find the right match at your own pace. Some may be ready for marriage in the near term. Some may be wary of making a commitment, which they see as a lifelong commitment, for good reason, right? Sensible thinking. But they may say, no, I'd be okay with maybe an engagement and having this courtship period of getting to know somebody for some more months before feeling comfortable with making a lasting commitment, tying the knot. And some others may be older. They may have blown past the pressure of being 29 or 34. I don't want to have this thing hanging over my head. I'd like to get to know somebody as friends first, without pressure. So we cater to the spectrum of philosophies over there, timeframes for marriage over there. More so within our current model, knowing how much the space has evolved. A few years after I began this, when investors, top-tier investors with an post out of India rolled out the red carpet saying that we know that this matrimonial space is ripe for disruption. We've seen 17 startups in the space. We like what you're doing. We think it'll beat everything that's out there. We can be the catalyst for your growth. We can write a check in a week. They did blind reference checks. I didn't think that money was going to solve the problem that I had.
100%.
I was also a rookie entrepreneur. Along came Tinder. It caught fire in the West. And immediately there were probably a dozen VCs ready to back Tinder clones in India.
Yeah.
So there were these startups that came and took bolder bets in dating. And it has become commonplace. And I worry for the young generation. Allow me to dwell on this a little bit, because it has led to this feedback loop with the parental generation also, where when they have gone into the best of intentions and lined something up, youngsters may still be conditioned to the idea. It's cultural conditioning, arranged marriages. It's all right, because it's about making it work also. What has changed is that, unlike the previous generation, they refuse to put up with a miserable marriage.
Yeah.
Because the stigma has been going away.
Yeah.
And they say, no, I don't need to suffer as you did. Why should I put up with this? This is so unfair. This is no right. Roles are evolving. Gender roles are in flux. And how are the family is processing it? Oh, you know what? Let's not risk it. Let's come to some middle ground. What's an arranged marriage these days? How rare is it that somebody says, son, this is the woman you're going to marry. Woman, this is the son. This is the guy that you're going to marry.
No.
A couple of generations, they used to say with a chuckle that, ha ha ha, I got to talk to your granddad on the day of our wedding. That would be a rarity these days.
Not possible.
So, parents realize that it's better that get to know somebody. Ultimately, it's your decision.
Yes.
And there's this tussle. So these so-called arranged marriages are nothing more than introductions, not much different from the introductions made in friend circles. Hey, there's somebody, cute guy, hot chick. Even in the West, there are colleagues and neighbors and acquaintances who set up blind dates. Arranged marriages are mostly introductions.
Blind date only in a way.
And somewhat pre-screened. And you have this team that's hard at work, digging deep and peeling the layers and doing the reference checks. And still there's a lot of confusion. So I love how, as I've gotten older, if I didn't have enough motivation already from my relationship misadventures in my 20s and 30s, not quite finding somebody online, thinking that I was the one she was going to marry, she was the one I was going to marry, but came to know a breakup. I did what people typically go through. They lick their wounds and make peace with the breakup until they feel comfortable enough with giving their heart to somebody, risking heartbreak again. It happened a second time and came to know heartbreak again. And through this all, you name it, I would have tried just about every well-known matrimonial site out there, the Indian flavor and even the US style. And in the West, you have this whole concept ingrained into society, freedom and choice. You'd have 28 flavors of bread and 50 varieties of toothpaste. So for educated singles and green singles and vegetarian singles and thoughtful singles, you name it, I would have tried them all. And got sick and tired of just about every one of them. So what changed was my realizing that here I was, to finish the first question, that here's a problem that I'm intimately familiar with. I know the pain, I've lived the customer pain, and I think I could do a better job than these bozos out there. And I see these winds of change blowing in India. So I made an expedition to India before finishing up my program. I didn't want to be this NRI coming down Mount Sinai with 2 tablets and saying, hey, my fellow Indians, here's the solution. Hey, come take a fresh pulse check.
Yeah.
Show a little humility. There's so much still to figure out how things have changed over here. And against that backdrop here, being able to give so much more counsel, because a few years into building Jodi365, of all places, at a professional event, social professional networking event of top tier MBA alumni, I ran into somebody interesting, somebody exciting. And we made plans to meet for dinner some days later. The dinner day that was to be at 8 p.m. went until almost 6 a.m.
Wow, that's
And for the
quite.
next couple of weeks, we were up late. While she was running her business, I was running my business. Within a month, exactly a month to the first dinner date, we got engaged. An impromptu engagement in the presence of our parents. Within another month and a half, we got married. Despite my having to spend 2 weeks in the US, despite her having to spend 2 weeks in the city
Wow,
that she
that
lived
is.
in, whirlwind.
Yeah.
And I don't recommend it to anybody because we chose each other. Had we spent more time, we may not have come together. It turned out to be a difficult marriage. And no fault of either of us. My eldest brother has put it well. I've talked about this publicly. I own my story. Sometimes when two people are like oil and water, no matter how much you stir and stir and stir, you can't get it to mix. I'm grateful that there were good memories. I'm grateful more than anything that it was a dignified parting. When we ultimately, 7 years in, we decided to go our separate ways. Dignified. Because the thing to be grateful about is so many divorces are even more painful than the marriage
The
was.
marriage itself, I agree.
People, they feel hurt and they want to inflict pain.
Mm.
It's a lovely saying. When you're angry, remember that anger is like a hot coal that you're holding in your hand, wanting to throw it at somebody else.
Wow, that is so true.
And the Buddha may have said that.
But
I made my peace.
do you think you kind of did this like in a month and a half period because you already went down to the pain of not like so many things not working out for you that when you felt that right thing was there, you just
Yeah.
like really wanted to make it work and you all just closed on to it like very quickly?
I'm seated upright. If I were flat on a couch, I would feel as if I'm talking to a shrink. I've made my peace with it. I won't second guess myself. I know this about myself, though, that I have some standards, some not uncommon. Many people have discerning preferences.
Right.
And I'm willing to wait for the right person to come along. And when that person comes along, I don't hold back, as in, wow, where was this pari? Where was this angel all along? Went the whole hog. So to some extent, my personality is all or nothing. I can be like a monk and go about my life and career, and that's enough to focus on. Interestingly, something that today's 20-somethings, 30-somethings can relate to is what I recall. I distinctly remember where I was in my house in Seattle when I had this long-distance call with my mother. She was in Chennai here. And she did the typical, oh, beta, I was the youngest. I was 31. Oh, what about you? My two brothers were married by then. Moms need some worry project at a time, right?
Yes.
Oh, what about you? I gave what was then the speech of my life, telling her that, hey, look, it's not that I'm one of those sons or daughters who say, back off, get
Yeah.
off my back. I'm not interested or just not ready. Because you know from experience that in my mid-20s, I chose this sweetheart from the American South to whom you even sent these token gold earrings. So man had intent, not running away from this. And you know that I was engaged formally, did the whole surprise engagement ring and wedding proposal to this German Canadian. I thought, wow, whip smart and so aligned in terms of our values and ideals. I was not hung up on Desi or this particular region or Tamilian or Sindhi or something in between. For me, there were other things. And it was not that I was not looking to find somebody. I explained to her, I reminded her that I had these professional aspirations and I was focusing on them while hoping that I would not get so caught up, be like a horse with blinders, that I would not even see who has come in front of me or crossed my path. And I told her that that's how I was choosing to go about my life. But by your bringing it up, you're only reminding me of the hole in my heart. And that makes me sad. Have the confidence that I will find someone, and you know that you will come to know. And I hope that it'll happen sooner rather than later. Surprisingly, it gave her some comfort, and she thought, oh, okay, I can back off. And they've been cool parents, way ahead of their time, even in our growing years. But this is the kind of conversation that I know from experience, ghar ghar ki kahani.
100%.
I'd like to pay homage to my Tamil roots also. Veetukku Veedu Vasapadi. In every household, there tend to be this kind of negotiation between the grown sons and daughters and the invested parents. So again, this backdrop, you may say that women, what do we go back to? Oh, they wanted to be 50-50. They don't want to get married. I don't buy that they don't want to get married because it may be that they are not thrilled about the prospects before them and they are saying that, okay, not now. When a woman says, or when a guy says, hey, I'm not looking to get married, excuse me, if you're hearing this from someone, process that maybe I'm not interested in getting married to you. How much of that may be a factor when they say that, okay,
100%.
not interested.
Very possible.
But if the right guy comes along, all these time frames get tossed out the window.
100%. Yeah.
Within a month, you get engaged. Within another month and a half, you may choose to get married joyfully. There are some unfinished points you can refresh my memory and bring me back.
So actually, to take this further, I'll just throw a situation probably so that we kind of and that could be contextual for a lot of people. So I have seen in my friend circles and around, there's so many women who did not marry early because of their careers, because they wanted to build something, possibly because they did not find the right partner at the time also. So now they're in their 30s and 30s plus, and the intent is to marry. They want to marry. But it looks like, they're not able to find the right person to marry. So do you think that particular age factor has something to do with you finding the right partner or no?
How do I interpret age factor? There are different ways.
Yeah.
What do you mean by age factor?
Age factor in the sense that, again, just to put this in context, people who I have seen who've crossed 30s are not able to find the right partners. They want to marry for sure. They are having that intent of, yes, we want to marry, we want a partner and whatnot. But still, you see all these, people who are 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, wanting to marry, getting married, in their age and time.
Sure. And you're hearing this from
I've
friends,
seen this,
male
yes,
friends?
Yes, female friends a lot. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So I asked this clarifying question because there is a gender asymmetry over here. So yes, the pain is real. And when I talk to women, every day I get to have long conversations with people. I choose to be generous with my time because as I said before, I love this added responsibility that I take on of not just giving comfort, not just with my team support, putting solutions in front of someone, presenting potential matches. In a way, by the way, that reflects the evolution of this space also. We pivoted into a purely personalized matchmaking service.
Where you get personally involved into,
While leveraging technology, I'm proud of the tech stack that powers Jodi365. World-class matching engine, which can comb through millions of possibilities in a fraction of a second, in a blink of an eye, which makes the manual curation a lot more efficient. But when I say manual curation, it has to do with recognizing that part of how the space has evolved with even more dating apps that have emerged, where it is so superficial, you swipe right or you swipe left, and you're doing this endlessly. Even on matrimonial sites, people will be doing this for a few hours a week, if not an hour a day. You have a term that has come into being, swiping fatigue.
Yeah.
And more so on platforms where you're not sure whether half the profiles are fake or genuine, or even if they may be genuine, they may be randos. There are some sickos also. In every segment of society, you have these outliers. You have mischief mongers. You have outright malicious folks. You have the frauds and fakesters. You have catfishing. You have so much fraud that goes on. And again, this backdrop, you're not sure, okay, even if somebody is genuine, do they have serious relationship intent? Are they looking for marriage? The platforms may be named wedding.com, matrimonial, Jeevan Saathi, but in reality, it's like a free-for-all. So people are left second-guessing, are they looking for something for a lifetime? Are they looking for something that's long-term, that progresses towards a lifetime? Are they looking for something short-term? Even though the matrimonial sites have become proxy for dating.
Yeah.
How do you know? So, and who has the time for this? And even if somebody may be genuine, may be looking for something long-term, you're not sure, okay, are they getting to know somebody else? Would you be wasting your time shooting a shot over here? Or could it be that they are looking, but it's just that they're not interested in you? Or maybe they're busy with something else. So I recognize that despite having a differentiated platform, despite having invested in deliberate onboarding friction to weed out the riffraff, it was not solving the problem as much as I would have liked it to be solving the problem. And I shifted my goal of impact at scale to saying, look, the bigger word over there is not scale, but impact. Helping one individual at a time, even though it is even more laborious, very high touch. So we say, live your best life, beta. We do the searching, we do the screening,
Right.
and we do the additional vetting and the curating by having the back and forth conversation with somebody, in the process sparing you from asking the difficult question that you may be too polite to ask, sparing you the uncomfortable, outright insensitive questions that you would not love hearing, that you might have to keep sharing with somebody. Oh, you're 35 and how come you're still single? Oh, you're in your late 30s, how many skeletons in your closet? Or, okay, how are you doing professionally? Beyond the basic income question that decent people will hesitate to ask. None of anybody's business, but part of assessment whether somebody is right on for you or not. And different people have different preferences. My responsibility to respect them. And I even take the liberty to push back a little bit. What do you want over here? You want a good outcome. Understand that it's a market. People may have their own preferences. Here's where an MBA education has helped me. I invoke game theory. I'll not digress into something more technical, but going back to this, yes, I get to hear about their challenges. It may be that they may have been in relationships that were long-term, that may have been heading to marriage, but for whatever reason, it didn't pan out. It may be that they were too focused on their careers. It may be that they had dysfunctional relationships within the family that had them wary of going into marriage when, look, my parents have been yelling so much. I have so many memories of that.
But do you think so? Because we spoke about the marriage sites and how there's like so many kind of people and then there's all the fakes and whatnot. Do you think having so many options nowadays is also kind of ruining a lot of? I mean, you are spoiled for options, right? In that way, and you don't want to exactly commit because back of the mind, again, I've heard this that people are like, what if something better comes across?
Sure.
And we're talking about partners here, we're talking about people here, right?
Sure.
Right. So, what do you think? I mean, do you think it is having like a negative impact onto how people are choosing nowadays?
Say that it's a leading question, but I don't mean to shoot it down as a leading question, because on both points, the answer is yes. And there is an expression now, paradox of choice. Another expression is analysis paralysis. When you have so many options, you think that, well, maybe if I swipe one more one more time this way or that way, who knows that the next profile may not be even more appealing.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of these parallel conversations that may be happening and people may feel a little hesitant. And then at the same time, good luck predicting the ways in which the human heart works. You fall for someone, you fall for someone.
That is so true.
The challenge though is you're not sure how the other person's heart may react. So there are a lot of these cross signals and there's a lot of pain and suffering out there. It's a jungle out there, the modern dating jungle. But this is true that yes, there is this paradox of choice, which is not good. I wouldn't blame it on just the online matchmaking apps, even Instagram, because you're seeing somebody, you're not seeing their real selves, you're not seeing their real life, you're seeing these idealized versions of themselves on these picture-perfect holidays, in these picture-perfect wardrobes, outfits. And comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
So you're always thinking about, oh, my life may not be good enough, or you aspire for something more, something better. With women, there are a couple of challenges. It's innate to women, hypergamy. Fancy term for women across cultures, across time, marry up. They look for somebody who is at least at their socioeconomic status or higher.
Yeah.
In the caveman days, they would want somebody who may be the strongest, the biggest, tallest, the fittest, so that they say, I'm going to mate with the winner of that contest.
Yeah.
And good for the species too. You have the better genes that get passed on.
Right.
So hypergamy has not been a bad thing. And why? Women also want somebody whom they can have confidence in will protect and provide for them.
100%.
You
Yeah.
talked about, so much change has happened in 50 years. I'll make it personal in making this point. When I returned from the US in 2013, within a month, my grandmother, my father's mother, my dadi, passed away at the age of 101. Do the
Wow.
math. She was born in 1912.
Yeah.
I know that my father was the fourth of 11 kids that she went on to have. And I know that my eldest uncle, her first child, was born when she was 18. And I know that her 11th kid was born when she may have been 45. Between the age of 18 and 45, here is this woman, barely 100 years, less than 100 years, between 1930 and 1955. Right, we're talking between 95 and 70 years ago, bore 11 kids in a span of 25 years, which means every other year she was either pregnant
Yeah.
and incapacitated for a good part of the year or nursing. How is a woman to feel if not vulnerable? How is a woman to feel that you'd want somebody who can protect and provide? I'm glad that on my mother's side, there were 4 kids. Good luck if somebody I have 2 friends in my peer group who have 4 kids, and the reaction, anybody you hear of somebody who has 4 kids, 4 kids,
Because we know nowadays it's
3 is
too much
rare.
to handle. Yeah.
Right. So those days are gone where you had that many kids. Now, it's a miracle that on either side, all kids survived. All 11 kids survived on my father's side, all 4 kids on my mother's side, because there would also be infant mortality. There would be,
Yeah.
I have known relatives in the extended family who died at childbirth. Yeah. Or died young. Kids who would die. Infant mortality would be huge before the age of 5. And they'd say, oh, okay, they got a fever and just passed away. Are you going to correct or change tens of thousands of generations of wiring in less than 100 years? See, technology has progressed so much that this is not how we were meant to find a mate. This is not how we were meant to go about our life with a partner. It used to be that you would be limited to the options in your tribe of, who knows, maybe 200 people. In the West, they've talked about it. The automobile was the first major technological revolution, which meant that you were not limited to the clowns among suitors in town. You could drive to the next town and expand your geographical reach. And technology has made it so easy right now to just swipe right, swipe left, and you have this. It's not healthy. It's not how we were meant to find a mate. And even after finding somebody, feeling that, oh, I'm feeling unfulfilled and I want a different kind of life, there are tough times, and it's not enough to think that you found the right partner. I will take every opportunity to tell somebody that just as important or more important is being the right partner for each other. It doesn't mean that, okay, once you found somebody that you think is the right person for you to marry, it's done. That's just the beginning. And you have to put in so much effort. You're smiling as if you know from experience, right?
No,
Being the right person for your chosen partner.
I do
Yeah.
have a very nice question though, which was how do you know who's the right partner? How do you
Yeah.
define a right partner?
Yeah. I can offer an answer instantly because I've had to reflect on similarly. I'm also faced with it. I've been faced with this decision. And for someone like me, it's been harder because I can say that I may have above average.
Expectations.
No, I'll start with IQ. And as human beings, that's compensated in some ways. As I walked in, I said, hey, don't lean on me for color coordination because I'm officially colorblind. I'm illiterate when it comes to colors. You give me a number, I'll remember it for who knows how many hours, if not days and weeks. Still okay with names. Faces takes a lot more work. We have different intelligences.
Right.
And on the EQ side, who knows how much more honing I had to do. Was I paying enough attention to my gut intelligence when it was so dominated by head intelligence? And at the same time, I've long believed in this, and I'd offer this as hope. How do you know? it's a cliche, but when you know, you know. The thing to be careful about, though, is not to rely too much on one kind of intelligence, what your heart is telling you. Because the stomach is not far from there. Butterflies in the stomach may not be enough to make a decision. Think with your head too. And with your audience, I'll take the liberty with guys, don't think with your little head, right? Use your brains.
Yeah.
Make an informed decision. Don't get carried away by the emotions of it. And maybe science will tell us a lot more about the nexus between the gut and the brain. So gut intelligence is not to be discounted. I've had to work on listening to my gut instinct. And the good thing, though, is especially when people know the kind of support system in our culture, in Indian society to this day, you have a tribe. Lean on your tribe.
Yeah.
Lean on the perspectives. The challenge, though, is there's this tension. If some young woman, especially, or if some young man is listening, your parents are not your enemy. These are conversations that I get to have so often in my line of work as a matchmaker. I love getting to be not only a trusted intermediary between fine singles and their respective families, but even within a family, as an important, as a necessary, much appreciated bridge between generations. Because the youngsters will say, oh, mom, dad, you don't get it. Times have changed so much. And they say, oh, yeah, we don't get it. We are so disconnected, happily married for a few decades. They can't pull that stunt with me because, hey, look, I have known the challenges of getting divorced in my mid-40s and still being in the modern singles jungle, navigating the changes in society, hearing from so many people about their pain and suffering and their challenges. So I've been keeping up with the times. And yet I have this perspective. I can lean on all the lessons learned without even counting the bruises.
If I were to throw like an option, not option, but simply put, based on all this experience, right? Again, there is going to be probabilities, but in terms of making an emotional decision, vis-a-vis making a practical decision, and to probably extend into examples, imagine finding a partner who's a tick on the paper, but probably you're not finding your heart there, vis-a-vis someone who is all hearts, right? You internally, gut-wise, heart-wise, feel like they just are the right partner, but they're probably not giving you ticks on the paper, which are your, your general vanity matrices, right?
Yeah.
In the two, which is more recommended, like based on experience and seeing how many ever marriages you've seen work and whatnot, which works end of the day?
Oh, so that's an easy answer. It depends. And in line with our approach, you got to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
And please, don't generalize formulas. Don't generalize, oh, it worked for somebody else, might work for you. Look at things on a case-by-case basis because different situations, different folks, different strokes for different folks. When people are out and about in the world on their own, the singles, when love happens, it happens. So all the check boxes get tossed out. The checklists get tossed out.
Right.
And then it's more heart. It could be a combination of heart and head, but it becomes a challenge when you have to get it okayed by headquarters also. And then you have the parental opposition.
Yeah.
Times have changed so much. One indication of that is that you don't have Bollywood dishing out the kind of crap that used to be dished out in my youth. It used to be these unrequited love. Boy loves girl, or boy meets girl, boy falls for girl also takes a liking for guy. But they cannot come together. Or that there's a triangle, there's a villain. And it used to be about, was it a love story, a happy ending, or was it a tragedy? Because life imitates art, art imitates life. All around, where did people have the kind of freedom that they have more and more these days? How many stories that you get to hear? Because even families have normalized having a boyfriend, having a girlfriend.
Yes, exactly.
And part of the thing is they say that, look, it's difficult to find somebody that meets your expectations. Sure, we are there to do our vetting. We are there to give you counsel. We're not the enemy. We are on your side. It's great if you take our input in signing off on someone, but you make the ultimate decision. But look into this and look into that. Don't just go with the heart. Look at the head aspect. Look at the practical aspects. So to some extent, if people don't rush in, and I rushed in, not that I overlook something, I lean on that also. I say there are important questions to ask. And I say this out of kindness to my ex, who will acknowledge herself. She didn't ask me some of the difficult questions that she should have asked me. It was a leap of faith that she took. It was a
Yeah.
leap of faith that I took. People need to have those mature conversations. As we speak, I am bringing singles together as we make the introductions, and we are even giving them ideas. You should be talking about this. Hey, you should be asking about this. Doing what? And maybe a generation ago, you had the tribe providing such counsel. And I say this, if I get the love and respect and all the goodwill that my team and I earn, we don't take a transactional view. We invest and we say that don't say yes when you should be saying no. If it's not a hell yes, you don't need to feel pressured to move forward. Developing situation every day. I have been on calls for enough hours this weekend doing this kind of back and forth. People need to feel comfortable, and here I'm giving them guidance, both of them together. So, what's the answer? Case by case basis. Don't discount the practical stuff, because sometimes love alone ain't enough. And I say this from deep personal experience. You got to look at the practical aspects. You got to talk about finances. You talk about, here's something that applies universally. Across cultures, 3 things that couples fight most about: money, sex, and in-laws. And the commonality is that one person typically wants more of one thing while the other person doesn't want as much, or one person wants less and the other person doesn't want. With money, someone may want more, whereas someone else the partner may be content with not having that much more.
Right.
Someone may want to spend more, whereas the partner may be not happy about that much spending. In-laws, someone may think that, hey, look, I want to stay close to my parents. I don't want to be in a different city. I want them more in our life. Someone may say that, hey, look, as I have liked to say, happiness is having a loving, caring family in another city about one's own parents. And imagine how in-laws are not quite the same. You can take liberties with your parents that you can't with the in-laws. And in sex, somebody may want too much, somebody may not want as much. Somebody may want it more often, somebody may not want it as often.
But do you think it becomes like a breaking factor for the marriage?
Of course, you have the headlines. And I can tell you, even in my immediate family, a wedding has been called off in the last couple of weeks. When someone pulls something out of the blue, a stunt, sometimes it's a material demand or an expectation. And you've seen headlines where a brave young woman says, I'm not going through this marriage because of some last minute 11th hour expectation for something that's a proxy for dowry.
Yeah.
More power to such women, because you don't have to think that you were jilted at the altar. It's a black mark and nobody else will touch this alliance. So it still happens. And see, there's material for another reel that I'm going to put out. There are folks who are outright money-minded.
Yeah.
You can say that they are gold diggers. And what's the equivalent for men? Materialistic. How can you respect a man who expects to mooch off his wife or future wife or his in-laws? And then there are folks who may have certain expectations. I can't take names in describing what I do. I'm not even come close to describing names. I can't even talk about some cases where if I even talk of the wealth, it'll be known, it might be this family that I'm talking about. People who run conglomerates, whose net worth is in the 4-digit crores. I won't even give close to the range. And who have expectations that the family that they would want their son or daughter, I won't say whether it's son or daughter, should have at least so many 3-digit crores. So I listen respectfully and then I push back. Is it a must have or is it nice to have? Okay, if it's not a must have, is it a strong nice to have or is it truly a nice to have? Is that really what is going to determine future happiness of your son or daughter?
Exactly.
So there it is. How much are you thinking, making a cold calculation? And then among the younger generation, it's all heart. Oh, you know what? We want to look great together in a picture. Seriously? Is your Instagram photo going to determine whether you have a happy married life or not?
Yeah.
And then I love pushing back against women typically who expect somebody to be bigger, taller, stronger. It's in the wiring to feel safe,
Yeah.
to feel protected. I joke. I can give you the G-rated version of it. Ultimately, how does it matter if the important parts line up? But I even talk about how the superstar of Hindi cinema, Indian cinema, when I was an impressionable kid, Amitabh Bachchan was, Lambu, 6'1", with his chosen bride maybe an entire foot shorter. But it's a personal preference again.
Yeah.
But when women are 5'5", 5'6", and they say, I want somebody who's at least 5'11", 6 feet, I ask, okay, is that a must-have? What if a Tom Cruise, or what if a Tom Cruise of your generation, whoever it might be, shows up in front of you? He'd be 5'7" and probably thick socks. Are you saying you won't give him a second look? Ha ha ha. If it's a Tom Cruise, of course. Oh, okay. So there are extenuating circumstances. There are redeeming features. Let's talk about those.
Yeah.
Don't go with just, okay, will we make a pretty couple on Instagram? Hey, looks will fade.
Yeah.
You will put on, your waistline will get wider, his hairline will recede. Will you love him for who he is? Will you respect him for who he is becoming? Will he be loyal to you? Will he take a bullet for you? Will he be there till death do you part? So I know it's getting philosophical, but I'd say each person needs to find their balance of what's practical versus don't go with just a business transaction kind of situation. If you don't feel the hots for someone, and not necessarily the raging hormones, you have to find somebody attractive. Now, sometimes attraction can grow, and men are luckier than women because men tend to be less forgiving of of a woman's looks. Men are visual; they want somebody to be good looking.
Yeah.
Men are lucky in that women tend to discount a man's looks. Of course, they'd like an attractive partner, but if somebody has something that's more than compensates his character, his values, his resourcefulness, his ability to protect and provide, his personality, his charm, or his standing, his status, yeah, it's okay. I can grow into him. But if you don't feel the thing, because look, it's about two bodies making another soul,
100%,
right? You have to feel it's an intimate relationship. It's not a friendship.
Yeah.
And do people get advised, counseled on these kind of matters? How many parents, and here, one of the common things that we run into is that there are families where the mother-daughter relationship is like a loving relationship, where a mother even guides, hey, look, you may choose not to wait until you get married, but practice safe sex. Imagine a mother saying, hey, make sure that...
Yeah. Still not common in Indian society, I think.
Right. But even think about, oh, look, do you really find him attractive? You have to have these kind of conversations because you wouldn't want your son or daughter to be unhappy. So I'm the one who comes in and I says that, and I cause them to do a double take and I say, I don't think your objective should be to see your daughter married. What are you saying? I say it for effect. I repeat it. Your objective should be to see your daughter happily married. There's a difference.
And there's a difference.
Hey, I don't want to dwell on this. Should we return to something that we missed before? Paradox of choice we talked about. Something about, I remembered one unfinished thought, and thanks for allowing me the space to make it more of a storytelling thing with a lot more context. I feel for women in their 30s who may have been focused on their professional aspirations through their 20s, it's harder for women because of the real ticking clock.
Yeah.
And the perception of, oh, am I falling behind? Are the good ones all taken? More so if they've kissed a couple of frogs by the time they're in their early 30s or later.
Yeah.
See, hard reality is, if you look at census data, it helps to look not only at things on a case-by-case basis, but also at a macro level. Let's take the metros. The median age for marriage, in the 2011 census, there hasn't been a 2021 census. The median age for marriage for women in the metros in 2011 was 23, meaning half the women were married by the age of 23.
Yeah.
Half of them are married. Now, I know that it's not just anecdotal. Okay, think of it as anecdotal data. The median age for marriage has been rising. It was 19 earlier. Across India, in 2011, it was still 19. So in the metros, with more education, with more agency, a sense of say in the process, women are choosing to marry after they get done with their college education, at least, and a couple of years later at 23. And for men, across India was 23. And in metros, I'm projecting it to be about 27. A decade and a half later, let's say it may be 25 for women, 29 for men. I doubt that it may be 27 for women and 30 something for men.
Yeah.
But still, the reality is that half the women are taken by the age of 25, 27. Half the men are taken by the time they are 27, 29, 30. So when you, as a woman, enter into your 30s, mathematically, the pool is dwindling.
Yes.
And when you pack on hypergamy onto it, it's a harsh, urban legend that 80% of women are vying for the attention interest of the top 10% of men. On dating apps, there's been a flawed study, but reality is that men will be more willing to accept a mutual match than a woman. So it may be that 80% of women find only the top 10% of women interesting, worth a second look, worth a conversation, worth a coffee date. Whereas men are more open in that respect.
Right.
Now, I have advice for men. Don't be simps. Have standards, set boundaries.
Yeah.
Don't say that, we'll settle for anything. Be discerning too. When men are in their 30s and they are sorted, they may not, the kind of men who may have not got the attention of women that they may have been interested in because they were focused on the long term. They may have been the earnest, nerdy kind, career focused kind, not the cool, wild guy. They get more marketable and they tend to have more say because the supply demand situation tends to be a little flipped. The older a man gets, the more seasoned, the more sorted, the more desirable in the market. And it is a singles market.
Yeah.
Whereas women are valued, look for their smarts also, but as much, if not more, for their looks. And there's already somebody younger coming on the shelves. It's a sad reality of it. Fortunately for society, for mankind, for humanity, there is such a thing as assortative mating. So it's not just hypergamy where men settle for the nurturing types, the teachers, the nurses, the homemakers, and women just look for the alphas. People typically find somebody in their own social strata. So I'll tie this back to the segment that I choose to focus on at Jodi365. From the outset, the tagline in our logo was quality singles. And in the personalized model, despite my own personal philosophy, for business reasons, I say for elite singles, for well-educated, accomplished professionals.
Right.
These well-educated, high-earning, top-tier men also want somebody who can challenge them, who they find intellectually stimulating, in whom they see a partner, somebody who will also measure up to their expectations. As against, look, will she even be able to have a conversation with me? And I don't want it to be that, we just cannot relate. And women too, it's not that, okay, they may be well educated. What happens often is if they have a master's, they'd want somebody who has at least a master's. And I think, hey, there could be a college dropout who's running a unicorn.
Yeah.
I'm not saying say okay for anybody doing a startup, because startups could also be code for unemployed, figuring it out, the walking dead. But if somebody is sorted, he may not be an outlier like a Gates or a Zuckerberg, but he may have no more than a bachelor's degree. Would that not be okay? Does Jeff Bezos even have a master's degree? I doubt it. Maybe Princeton undergrad. So does somebody have to have a master's? And even if it's a master's, hey, look, you cannot change somebody's height. You cannot change somebody's age. You can change your eating habits. You can even change your religion. Can I curse for effect over here? Goddamn religion. And you can so easily change your highest level of education, go get another master's.
Yeah.
And there are so many career tracks where you have an executive MBA for those who need to go to the next level of management. And I encourage women, don't fixate on dots, where somebody is today. Look at trajectories, look at lines in the curve. Are they trending up? Be a lambe race ka ghoda, as in look at a racehorse that's in it for the long haul, not is going to get burned out. So going back to this, it's harder for women, understandably. And then it comes down to a discussion of their preferences. Hey, what are truly must-haves versus what are nice to have? I get to have such poignant conversations. The younger me may not have been able to empathize as much. So I say this with a lot of satisfaction that this has become my life's mission in ways that I did not dream of.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this one question before we move on to our MVP mic drop segment. So if you were to give, let's say, few questions, right? Let's do like top three questions for men and top three questions for women that they must ask when they are considering someone as a life partner. Because I remember you mentioned that it's about asking all the questions that you can, and you guys do ask difficult questions on behalf of your clients and whatnot. So what are those very important questions that you feel like you should never ever miss out on asking when you're considering a partner? So let's do 3 for men, and if you want to do more for, obviously, I mean, we are open.
Sure. I know you also have to keep a schedule, and I can tell you this has been very engaging. Very. I hope your audience finds it enriching and
sure.
sees useful food for thought.
I think there can be just hour-long conversation on this because it's just I think, very burning issue everywhere.
Yeah. So what to ask, what to look for? Now, I made a reference earlier. Think about what are the predictable pitfalls: sex, money, in-laws. You can't get into asking that, hey, how often would you want to have it? Or what are your favorite positions? I mean, that is inappropriate.
Yeah.
That's a kind of discussion to have with a loving partner at the right time, at the right place. Whereas there are so many questions to ask upfront. More than questions, I'll talk about categories. Thank you for asking. Young women, especially, young men, especially, you think that, you'd like to find your own partner. You like the idea of love marriage. You think arranged marriage is almost stigmatized. And they may be comfortable semi-arranged. So you think about, okay, I want to feel a vibe match. I want to feel a wavelength match. I want somebody with similar interests. Please don't fixate on somebody who has the same interests. Interests don't need to be similar. Interests can be complementary. You may be into hiking every weekend. He may prefer Netflix. Now, would he be sporting enough to join you on hikes more often than he otherwise would have? Would he be okay with just chilling on the couch and binge watching? Interests can be complementary.
Yeah.
And even if you're looking at interests, while they look at complementary interests, before interests, think about, is there an alignment in values? Which is why when I said earlier that I've done a 360, 180 on this, I have very strong opinions on the extent to which pseudo-feminism has messed with an entire couple of generations in the West and even in India. I can't say if I've met more than a few true feminists in my lifetime.
Being a woman, I think I would agree with that.
And it's a little late in the show to be opening up a can of worms over here, but I get away with saying shit like this when I speak my mind. Because I've had dear friends and I have female friends who would still vouch that I'm the most feminist man that they've known. And I'd say, Arey gali mat do yaar. And then please don't insult me. I talk about how you see manifestations of not feminism, but pseudo-feminism, of pick and choose feminism. And if there is a backlash, if there is a pushback, it's for good reason. Now, if feminism was even needed to be discussed, it's because you've had generations of oppression, right? So the pendulum had to swing from that extreme. Problem is, if you go to the other extreme, there will need to be a pullback. Where it settles, it's for generations to figure out, and it's for couples to figure out.
Yeah.
When we had that break while the batteries were cooling, I made this off the camera reference to how one of the women that I've most loved in life, an amazing woman in many respects, describes herself as a staunch feminist. And she lovingly indulged with my unleashing on feminism. And there were times when you'd even have spirited debates. And I had enough sense that, hey, look, I don't need to score points over here. I'm not going to love her any less because she may have drunk the Kool-Aid. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to be a pushover and, okay, baby, okay, baby. No, I tell any man who listens, show a spine. Don't hesitate to set boundaries. Don't hesitate to speak your mind. Don't think about, oh, this is what needs to be heard. Speak your mind. If you're single and if this is in the context of getting to know somebody, she may hate your guts, but you'll have her respect. And a woman will not be able to be with a man she cannot respect. So you make the choice.
I actually double down on that point. One thing I've realized of the conversations also that we have, with our friends and whatnot is, love is become so secondary in the list of things now that we want. The first thing is respect. If you're able to respect your partner in the way...
Mutual respect.
Mutual respect. You both should be able to respect each other. And I personally feel that's going to be a marriage that would last.
So instead of talking about, I agree, instead of talking about questions, notice this is the second tier that I'm bringing things to, values. Values also mean how you think about roles in a relationship.
Yeah.
So I would call her Tangam, I would call her lovingly Begum. Feminist to the core, and yet very much in her feminine. And has probably not had to cook in her life. Has an ecosystem of enough cooks and caretakers and housekeepers sorted for the next couple of generations, has known that kind of a privileged upbringing. But out of love, knowing that I showed up one day famished, oh, you know what, kitchen has been cleaned out, let me cook you something. Mixed up tur dal and chana dal. Didn't even know that this is not the dal which you make this dal tadka. And I still ate it joyfully. Did it mean that was a deal breaker for me? No. On a case-by-case basis, I could have a loving relationship with this amazing woman.
Yeah.
So on a case-by-case basis, what's a must-have versus what's a nice-to-have? And as women get older, I said, they may have different must-haves. As men get older and wiser, hopefully, they do a rethink of their must-haves versus nice-to-haves. But in this category, values. What are their worldviews? How do they feel about family? How do they feel about the role of in-laws? How do they feel about the polarized society? And the kind of friends that they'd want to have in their life. But even before this, I'd say the first category, and within each category, come up with your own preferred favorite questions.
Yeah.
Character. Number one, character. Please pick a good person. Please pick a good partner. Now, I'm sad to say, I've known friends, while I may have been sad, had enough reason to feel sad that, hey, look, I've had so much to offer in a relationship. Why doesn't it click for me? And look at the irony, Mr. Matchmaker. And then I think that, well, there are so many of my peers and their kindness, they say that, hey, look, I've got to be a dad, but I don't get time with my dad because estranged or divorced and shared custody, if at all. And I've had idiot friends who have screwed up their marriages by going and straying. And you think, if somebody could do that, if somebody could cheat in business, be careful. Because how do you know that they won't cheat in a relationship?
Yeah.
Don't discount character. Because ultimately, this is going to be somebody you're going to spend a lot of time with.
Yeah.
You'll want to, you will trust them with everything that you have. You wouldn't want to be discarded when you're either not resourceful enough or whether you're not hot enough. Pick somebody who knows what it means to be loving, knows what it means to be loyal, knows what it means to be respectful. For good reason, it's not a question, but it's an observation. You have the stereotypical restaurant wait staff test,
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of
right?
yes,
Right?
yes, yes.
Does he treat somebody well, somebody
Yeah.
who's known not to be too important? A
Yeah.
valet staff.
Yeah.
Does he throw the keys? Does he
Yeah.
address somebody respectfully? Does he give respect to elders?
Yeah.
So, questions. And then I also counsel people, including yesterday. It's been 4 months since we made an introduction. Young woman, their families are client, and they love that I'm able to connect with them. They love that, I am able to crack the puzzle, and they're able to confide in me. They open up to me in ways that they don't open up to their parents. So I'm sort of like a sutradhar also, like a messenger.
Very nice.
So what comes up is her family would love for an alliance to be formalized with his family. His family would also love for an alliance, but they want to take their time, really feeling sure that yes, to feel that they have fallen in love, and that takes time. And I've asked, have you had a fight yet? And if somebody said they've not had a fight yet, I say, don't commit.
Yeah.
Because you need to see how somebody responds to stress, how somebody responds to conflict. Do they fight fairly? Do they forgive easily? Do they hold on to grudges? As men, hey, your woman will never forget. But that's part of being phenomenal. Women are awesome. It's how they're wired to pay attention to these kind of things.
Facts.
And how I'll wrap this up is it's difficult in more formal situations. When you travel, and there's an example of this couple from the US that said that they were engaged and they went through a backpacking trip through India, not the sanitized 5-star hotel kind of taking in of India.
But a more raw
Yeah, experience India like it
Yeah.
is. And they said that we survived that. It meant that we were ready for life, because going through that was like a metaphor for life. There will be surprises.
Yes.
You lose your passport, you drink unhealthy water. Hopefully you won't die, as happened in, unfortunately, Indore, but you fall sick. There's been a flu that has been going on in Chennai in this season. Something might get lost, something might get stolen. Your commute may be taxing, the climate may be weather may be stifling. How do you deal with things? How does the other person deal with stress? How does the other person deal with differences? And when you fought, more important than the fight is, how have you
respond to it.
and do you understand relationship repair? Fight fairly, forgive easily. So there are a lot of questions, but I put them under these 3 buckets. Interests, your interests will change. You'll be a different person at 33 than you are at 28. So above interests is values, alignment.
Core values.
Do they want the same things in life or similar things in life, compatible things in life? Are they? And the 180 that I did is that I have so much more of an appreciation for arranged marriages, and even for families being particular about, in the same mother tongue. If not same community, at least the same language. Or I say, okay, how about South Indian? Or how about any Hindi speaking or Bhojpuri or Garhwali? And I've come to respect that, because even in the West, you have studies that show that similarities matter most than, I will shoot down this popular notion any day that, opposites attract. Opposites attracting is a recipe for disaster. Don't buy that pop culture BS. Similarities are what matter. And arranged marriages, you look for somebody from the same cultural background.
That's the reason why people look for very same community, same this thing, because that must have been the logic, I assume.
I respect it in ways that surprise, that would surprise the young man that I was. My parents, South Indian Brahmin father, Sindhi mom, and my one brother's married to a Tamilian from a different community, another brother's married to somebody of a different faith. But hey, I could go on, but this is your show if you want to close it out.
I love that we've had a takeaway for this. But no, I think what you just said, right, it has to be like a balance end of the day. And that is, I would rather want you to conclude it with a message rather that you would want to give everybody. I don't think so. There could be one, but okay.
A message for people, singles?
Yeah, singles. Let's make this for people who are looking for somebody.
Be true to yourself. And as you're getting to know somebody, first and foremost, be true to yourself. And be fair to the other person. Being true to yourself, being fair to the other person means being honest with yourself, not telling the other party what you think they may want to hear. These are important discussions to have with somebody as you're getting to know them. Speak your mind. It's also negotiation. It's also expectation management. In the world of business and management, we learn that one of the bigger predictors of success is, in any relationship, professional or personal, is expectation management. So careful in how you temper expectations. And beyond that, be a good person. As much of a rationalist as I may be, as much as I may be skeptical in matters of faith and spirituality, I love the concept of good karma. I like to think that what you put out there is what comes back to you, multiplied many times over. You do shit, be prepared for shit coming your way.
Yeah.
Do good. Your reputation precedes you, personally and professionally. And choose carefully. For the elders who may be listening in, and for the youngsters who may be in a position to pass some wisdom on to your parental generation from someone who is closer in age to them than to you, ask them not to rush. Don't have some artificial deadline. Just because somebody is going to turn 30 or 35 doesn't mean that they become expired goods. For women especially, and for men also, please be mindful that if you're, and I tell them, if you're 34, hey, you don't have time to waste. Because realistically, and I temper expectations, give it 6 to 12 months to find the right person. And let's say you found the right person, you'll want to have even more confidence. You may have a courtship period of, who knows, maybe another 6 months.
Yeah.
So it may be 37 by the time, if you start at 35. It's a lot easier at 34 than it is at 36. And if you tie the knot, if you start at 35 and maybe tie the knot at maybe 36, you may not want to start popping kids out within a year, right? You may want to give it a couple of years.
100%.
And women, forget game theory. You may be in your mid to late 30s and I pour cold water on this wishful thinking. Oh, I'm 38. I'd like a guy. I don't hold back even while talking respectfully to the parental generation. Oh, my daughter's 38, 39. What's the age preference you have? Plus or minus 1 or 2. What do you mean 1 or 2? So, she's 38. Guy who's 38, 39. Which world are you living in? Which planet are you living in? And you want somebody who also desires parenthood. If a guy is in his early to mid 40s, for you to want to have a child, the guy would also want to have a child.
Yeah.
If he's in his early 40s and also wants to be a dad, he would prefer to take a bet on somebody who's closer to 35 than to 39.
Exactly.
That's game theory.
Yeah.
Kaun samjhayega? My responsibility to hold a mirror. So I say, but at the same time, don't rush in because, and here, to what extent it may have, I own my story, right? I keep it real. To what extent might it have played on my mind? I made the mistake in hindsight of being 33, thinking that, hey, my career is not as illustrious as I'd like it to be. For the next 5 years, as I went through the booth program and went about building my startup, despite having lucrative career options still in the US, I miscounted. I may have gone on, still on a 5-year period between 33 and 38, I may have gone on no more than a dozen first dates, 8 to 12. So focused on this. Maybe one second date that I can readily recall. And in the professional world, I think there's enough understanding that we have 5 to 6 shots at goal, to use this football expression. You might try something. You've tried a few different things, right? Engineering, and then you moved on business.
Yeah.
Try something for 6 years, and then maybe a decade later, try something else. In a 30, 40-year career, you may have 5, 6 shots at goal. That applies even to relationships, right? I had my shot in my mid to late 20s. I had another shot in my early 30s. I didn't give it as much priority between 33 and 38. And I thought, hey, I knew intuitively 40 is like, oh, too old. A 34-year-old, would she take an interest in me as I turn 40? I know I'm all in on my venture, and look at the irony. I'm building something, but I don't have the time for my own personal life, being out and about, putting myself out there. And I was not going to shit where I eat, look in my own platform. As don't even ask me about how people think it's cool that this founder found his partner on his platform. What, you hit on people who come to your platform? That wasn't going to sit with me. And here, could I have rushed into it thinking that, okay, you're 39, going to be 39. I got married a few days shy of my 39th birthday. Who knows? I'm acknowledging that it may have been a factor. And as it turned out, my ex-wife I was 38, she was 29 when we fell in love.
Wow.
She was 30 and I was 39 almost when we got married. There's somebody here's the other message. Sorry, it's not just one crisp thing. How can you unpack everything into 1 or 3 sound bites? 2 or 3. There's someone for everyone. Be proactive. Parental generation at the same time, don't think that jab hoga tab hoga. It happens when it happens. And men and women, nobody's going to fall on your lap from the skies. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be proactive. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. As much as you might think, oh goodness, I have to deal with another first date from hell. And even on that, don't stress, because the objective of first conversation of a first date is only to decide whether you want to go on a second date or not, to have another conversation or not. There'll be more. When you push this live, I might chime in with a comment or two saying, oh, I forgot this, so here I'm chiming in. But thanks for engaging me.
No, that has been amazing. That has been amazing. And with that, we'll move to the MVP mic drop segment. What the segment stands for is we ask rapid fire questions. There would be just 3 questions, but it's not your exact like rapid fire. We would want some reasoning to why you gave the answer you gave.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the first question is there any particular book that had like a lasting impact on you and why?
Oh, a book?
One book. We do one book.
I can give you an answer, and I can give you the background to it. There are books that you keep returning to, right? And then there are books that you want to give to as many people as you can.
Right.
Lately, as somebody who gets to attend weddings, I gift books on relationships. But I'm not going to give credit to, there are relationship-oriented books,
Nice.
and including one on playfulness, on intimacy. And to the extent that I got teased by a fellow Booth alum that, oh, here's the naughty uncle who gave them a book on playfulness,
Wow.
intimacy. Balanced with a book on how to make a relationship work, understanding love languages. There are good books out there. But before I even thought that I would be Mr. Matchmaker, in my youth, I came to love this little pocket book, a series of pocket books by somebody who is dead and gone now, on marriage and family. The title of the series was Life's Little Treasure Book. And there's a cute little book on marriage and family. That's the one that I would love to give to friends who were about to get married, cousins. I would ship them. And that's way out of print. And we're talking 30 years ago when I first stumbled upon this book. At a bookstore in Iowa City, in the summer, they put their books out on shelves on the street, tables on the streets. That's the book that I bought the most and gifted the most. It begins with, choose your life's mate carefully.
Wow.
90% of all your happiness or misery will come from that one decision.
That is so true, yeah.
And it ends with, be your mate's best friend. So you can see, who would have thought then that this is what I would go on to relay to as many people as I could. And I struggled with one book. See, in my adult life, I did a count after college. When I began grad school and went into an apartment that I rented with my name on the lease, I have shifted residences 13 times across 2 continents, right, in 3 decades of my adult life. And I've had books that I carried with me, including from undergrad days in my specialization, master's at Iowa, PhD at Michigan, and then consulting career in Seattle, and then Chicago, and then India, and then back to the US, Chicago, and then back to India. And within Chennai also moved multiple times. But even after coming back to Chennai for the foreseeable future, indefinitely on an OCI in 2013, I still had my book collection in my storage shed in Seattle. When I put that house up for sale, I had to do something with the books and many other things that were curious, and even my lovely power rack. It didn't make sense for me to buy even a pallet or half a container and ship things to India. I decided to dispose of most of my things.
Oh.
The hard part was my book collection. So I think about the ones that I chose to keep. It was for the reason that these are books that I'd love my kid to read. One of them was Interpreter of Melodies, and the other one was Kite Runner.
Oh, Kite Runner is a very nice book.
Yeah, not quite rapid fire, but thanks for giving me this opportunity to reflect.
The second question is, what is the one thing that you wish you realized earlier in life?
Professional, personal?
We'll do personal since we're...
The one thing that I wish I realized earlier in life. Wow. Yeah, so in recent years, one of the things that used to unnerve me was, hey, what are my blind spots?
Mm-hmm.
I saw it as a sign of growth, that I was even aware that, yeah, we all have our blind spots. I won't say what I wish I knew before. I'll say this: I wish maturity came to me earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ashamed to say that it came to me relatively late. And I think 31 is late. And it took some humbling life experiences. Getting dumped, getting jilted as a fiancé, getting my ass kicked at work, for it happening around the same time. And yeah, having to come down a notch a little bit, saying that, yeah, you can't expect things to quite pan out the way that you would like it to pan out. In terms of wisdom, what I wish I knew earlier in life, it's hard to put a pin on one single thing. It may have to do with how much a lot of what we do is related to people.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a PhD. I've worked on enough projects, software projects, engineering projects. And I say that it's so much harder doing what I do right now because I'm dealing with people. People are not predictable. People are not consistent. People are emotional, not necessarily rational. People can be mean. People can be silly. It's both fascinating and challenging. So what I wish I had known earlier was maybe, as this famous cricket captain, it was said of him, Mike Brearley, he had a PhD in people. I wish I understood human nature also earlier in life.
That's a nice one, yeah.
And I may have even spared myself some heartache if I'd learned this earlier, that when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Believe them. And the last question is, what is that one value that you respect or you kind of put first when it comes to people?
Oh, thank goodness, I have one instant answer: the golden rule. Golden rule. And I don't want it to sound self-righteous over here. The origins are quite likely in my lovely parents' own values and the upbringing that we were fortunate to know. Even in her 80s, my mom, she's 89, frail, has short-term memory loss, early onset of dementia, gives gyan to us. Be good. Be good. Something that came from my father also. He passed away a few years ago. Bless his soul. Don't kick somebody. It's translated from Hindi. Don't kick somebody on their stomach. Don't deprive somebody of their livelihood. Don't cheat. Make an honest living. And translated beyond livelihood, matters of money, is the golden rule: do unto others as you would like others do unto you.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about it a lot. There are enough times when I act like an entitled prick, but that's me being me.
Whatever you don't want done to yourself, you should never do to anyone else.
I'll make some exceptions over here, and I'm processing. Yeah, it's okay to set some boundaries. It's okay to set some boundaries and say that some things are unacceptable. Like, again, there may be some gender asymmetry over here, and I have to be very careful about opening up a can of worms over here. So let me not even do that. Yeah. But no, the instant answer is the golden rule.
No, I love that. And I think with that, we will wrap this podcast. But it has been such a pleasure to have you here and to share all the candid stories from your life, from your experiences. I think they're just so invaluable.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it's going to help all the listeners out there.
That's good to hear. And to your credit, you're the one bringing these stories out. And you put people at ease. You radiate positivity.
Oh,
I have nothing but the kindest wishes for you, for all that's ahead for you on the personal and the professional front.
means a lot.
And probably the kind of people who relate to you, who may be your audience, similarly wish you all well. I'll be that elderly Indian uncle. Hey, even though I like to think that I'm probably the most youthful, most spirited 53-year-old, be good. Be good, do good. And
I
thanks for
love
having
that.
me.
Thank you so much for this and thank you for your time. Thanks a lot for tuning in and watching the episode till the end. If you liked whatever was shared, whatever insights were there, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, and do let us know what all topics you want us to cover for the next one. Until then, let's keep maximizing.